You know that meme in which Leonardo DiCaprio plays the plantation owner from Django Unchained? You know, he looks up, he looks at first like the Great Gatsby and then turns into that plantation owner. And the meme says, how liberals change as soon as you don't agree with their point of view. And right now on CNN, they were discussing Trump's support amongst black voters nearly tripled since 2020. And the CNN panel is absolutely aghast. They are shocked that black voters would actually make an independent decision in supporting somebody on their own without the approval of the vote blue, no matter who establishment. So let's go ahead and pull up this video here. Folks, if you want to see people living in their own reality, this is it. Shout out again to Case Study QB. I don't know how you sit through this BS. You're made out of stronger stuff than me, my friend. But this is CNN at its finest. Brace yourself. Your brain cells will die.
Angela, to bring you in, those battleground polls also show Donald Trump pulling in 19% support from black voters. That is actually triple what he got in 2020. What do you make of that? What is he doing right to win them over?
I don't make anything of these polls that are talking to imaginary black folks. I would love to know, for one, who they're talking to, because I've not seen.
So you think that they don't?
So, in other words, these black voters who want to support Trump, they don't know who they are and they could be non-existent. Well, let me just say this as somebody who is a lifelong resident of the city of Chicago, 4 generations deep, starting with my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my mother, myself. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually seeing Trump support in black neighborhoods in the city of Chicago, South and West Side, but in all neighborhoods, really. Now, it's not this massive red wave, but it was a couple of years ago where such kind of imagery would not be expected, especially in a diehard Democratic city. But it is real. And people, no matter what they look like, the color of skin, who they worship, what generation they are part of, have their own sovereign right to make a choice on who they want to support. And this goes for black voters, white voters, doesn't matter. Everybody has their right to choose who is going to get their vote. And last I checked, in the realm of politics, if you're a candidate running for office, no matter what position, your job is to convince voters that you are the better candidate. And in turn, you have to, surprise, surprise, earn the vote. Let me say that again. Earn the vote. But CNN, being a major news outlet, cannot come to terms, nor can this panel come to terms, that black voters want something different. Be it third party, Donald Trump, or dare I say it, not vote at all, which is anybody's right to do. Let's rewind this again.
He doing right to win them over?
I don't make anything of these polls that are talking to imaginary black folks. I would love to know, for one, who they're talking to, because I've not seen.
So you think that they don't exist?
I think that they are, maybe, you know what, they might be the invisible man that Ralph Ellison talked about in his book. I don't know who these people are. There was a Trump ad that was released.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again one more time?
The invisible man that Ralph Ellison talked about in his book. I don't know who these people are.
Who are these people?
Who are these people?
Who are these people?
There was a Trump ad that was released, I believe today, that's targeting black women voters. And there are these people who are, allegedly exist all throughout the country, and they're reading scripts. You can see their eye line going over here. And I think some of them might be paid to say some of these things. I'm not sure. But here's what I do know, Pam. You talked about this not being the case, Georgia not being the case for Joe Biden. Joe Biden did actually win Georgia in 2020. And I also want to give some credit to Kamala Harris, who has been to Georgia 7 times this year.
7 times, all right? But she's only going on the campaign trail now. She's not saying anything revolutionary. She's not saying anything earth-shattering. She's just repeating the same thing over and over again. And there is this assumption that, okay, the black people who are speaking at Trump rallies are reading from a teleprompter. this is the pot calling the kettle black, but I saw a lot of Democratic supporters and people also speaking and reading from teleprompters too, reading from a script, especially at the DNC convention. So, everybody does it. Everybody does it in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Cheer, right? And so I think it's important for us to acknowledge the work that has been done. Their state directors talked about 35,000 new volunteers on the ground since Kamala Harris announced. They have well over 24 offices in that state. They're doing the work. And so what you do see with polls and what you do hear from folks who are registered voters is that the tide is changing, that they're excited about the change and the excitement that Kamala Harris brought to the
Cool Blue 71, $1.99. The professional managerial class black panel guests on CNN are offensive. They offend you. Well, I would say they're not offensive. They're annoying.
The top of the ticket. And I think we really got to give more credit to the work. I'm not giving any credit to these polls. Polls end up being wrong all the time. And I've seen polls that say 15%, 19%, 18% of black folks. I don't believe it at all. I really don't.
So I want to follow up with what you had said about, who are these voters? As I said, the 19% of black voters supporting Trump. Our CNN's Ali Reeve actually recently spoke to a black voter in Virginia who owns a shop that sells pro-Trump merchandise. Here's what she said about his outreach to black voters, and I'll get your reaction on the other end.
Now, look, again, I've been getting some pushback, especially even some from people close to me. Not involved in the realm of independent media, but more personal friends, who have said to me, Kit, this coverage that you're giving to Trump sounds very pro-Trumpian. No, it's not. No, I'm not supporting any political candidate, and Hard Lens Media isn't endorsing any candidate. However, Trump kept his political organization and movement together. Trump was able to do that. Now, you could say it's him being nefarious or him being strategic. Your choice on that matter. But the point is, in politics, you have to keep your base satisfied and still willing to support you. All right? You read about this in The Art of War. You read about this in The Prince. And for any executive, commander, chief, general, president, prime minister, the one thing you have to do is make sure your supporters and base are satisfied with your leadership. That's the key word, your leadership. Now, if black voters are flocking to Trump, or either that he has gained more support 3 times than what he did in the past, what does that tell you, Democrats? That your message is dying amongst black voters. And as somebody who's lived in the city of Chicago, yes, we have the Democratic machine, and I want to make my conservative listeners very clear on this. The people of Chicago never voted for this. Maybe at one time, decades ago in antiquity, I'm not saying that the 50s or the 40s was antiquity, but nonetheless, there was a process in electing people. But then comes the Democratic machine, and voter turnout in Chicago elections is abysmal because of the corruption, because of the nepotism, because of the neo-feudalism that we have perfected here in this city. But people are tired of the Democratic machine. Hell, a lot of people are tired of the two-party system in general. But why is it now that black voters want to support Trump? Because maybe after being abused by the Democratic Party, people are looking at the Republican Party. Now, sadly, we here at Hard Lens Media, we know the truth that the two-party system is completely corrupt. No matter who sits in the White House, Wall Street has the final say. I mean, that's a real fact that should be accepted amongst everyone in the political spectrum. But let's hear from this. Let's hear from this constituent.
I think their efforts are succeeding tremendously. All the things that have happened to President Trump, the attacks on him, have done nothing more than strengthen Black people's connection to him, because now he's someone who is the target of a struggle, and they have always felt that they've been a target.
All right, Charlamagne, what do you think about that?
I think that I can't speak for all Black people because we're not monolithic, and that woman cannot speak for all Black people because we're not monolithic. And I think she sounds like a man to be. To be totally honest, I think she sounds like a damn fool, but that's her opinion. And I do feel like, Democrats do owe black people a lot, but last election, 92% of black people voted for Democrats, and that has been the case for a long time. I see that being pretty much the case this year as well.
That was it. I mean, seriously, is that it? Is that all you're going to be hoping on? That how black people voted in the midterm election cycle or in the previous presidential election cycle, that's how it's going to go. Listen, I have been driving around my city and I'm seeing more homeless encampments. I'm seeing more homes being boarded up. I'm seeing small business owners give up everything. I'm seeing people move out of cities. Hell, I've been seeing this happen under the Biden-Harris administration. 3.5 years of false promises, false hopes, and hey, with a little cherry on top, inflation, which is crippling everybody in this nation. The reason why we are seeing a support, or at least an increased support for Donald Trump, at least amongst black voters, is because, hey, maybe people are putting on their rose-colored glasses and saying the economy was better. I know one thing. I know that people were more actively engaged in politics when Trump was president, but that's because you had the liberal outrage. That's because you had the vote blue no matter who people instigating things even further, but still not offering any kind of real substance or support or any kind of messaging. We're seeing the increased pollings of people looking for something different. And just because CNN is showing that Kamala Harris is in the lead, and yes, in a few states she is, voter turnout is going to be key, and especially on how she conducts herself for tonight's, behind a paywall recorded interview on CNN. Kamala Harris has a lot of explaining to do because her time, especially as Attorney General in the great state of California, well, it's a very checkered past because she even, again, her record shows on how she went after black communities, truancy, and so much more. Don't forget how Tulsi Gabbard eviscerated her during that one debate stage way back in 2019, where, it was brought to the whole world's attention that Kamala Harris withheld evidence that kept an innocent man behind bars on death row. That's right. Not life row, death row, where it's kind of final after that. And yet CNN wants to instigate this fact that, oh, well, we don't know who these people are. We don't know what they stand for. That's CNN. CNN, that's all you could do. Well, maybe instead of interviewing one person, you should interview, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 people, 40, 50 across the nation. Talk to black voters who, at one point maybe voted Democrat, but now are considering voting Republican. Ask them why. Why? Why would you do this? Why would you make the change? Just a few weeks ago, after the DNC convention, I actually played a video of one former Democratic operative who is completely disillusioned with the DNC.
Okay, I'm going to get real in this, and it's probably going to piss some people off, but I'm okay with that, because if I'm not being honest, then what else am I doing? I just got back from the DNC where I signed up to volunteer, and when I initially had signed up to volunteer, Joe Biden was still the nominee. It wasn't yet Kamala Harris. I've worked in progressive politics for a long time. I have worked for many different Democratic candidates, Senate candidates, House candidates, even some Democratic organizations. And as the years have gone by, I found myself getting more and more disillusioned with the Democratic Party, although until now, I've never said that out loud or anywhere public. And I just want to say that by saying this, I'm not necessarily saying that the other party is better. I'm just giving you my experience with working with the Democrats. Throughout my career, I've mostly done campaign fundraising, so I've seen it the way that it works behind the scenes. And I know that candidates spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day just calling donors and begging rich people for money. It's pretty much the only people that they talk to. I mean, of course, sometimes they have to talk to voters, but the majority of their time is just spent calling and begging rich people to give them money for their campaigns. And what this inevitably means is that we don't actually live in a democracy. It's just rich people calling the shots and having the access to talk to the politicians. They're the ones that basically get their ear all day. They're the ones that can help shape and prioritize what the politician actually focuses on. Even the politicians that detest this, that want to get big money out of politics, still have to play this game. They still have to make these calls. They still do the same amount of just calling rich people and begging them for money. And what unfortunately happens once they get into office, if they get into office, is that they soon realize that the money machine is so great and the seduction of power is so immense that they no longer adhere to these values. When I first got into politics, I thought that Democrats were the party of the people. And at the DNC this week, I felt like I was in a building with the most elite and out of touch people in the entire world. It very much felt like, let's just have a huge party and forget all of our problems because the vibes are brat. When I was there, I didn't feel any connection to real America or the place that I come from, which is the Midwest, Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri. I didn't feel any connection to the people that I know right now who are struggling to buy their groceries or to pay their rent. The people who want to know what both candidates are going to do to materially affect change in their lives. And when I was there listening to the speeches, I felt myself feeling mad because I didn't hear anything about the economy. Definitely not in Kamala's speech, and not very much in the others as well. Instead, I heard generic platitudes, things like joy and respect and integrity. And what does that even mean? Let's make the military the most lethal in the world. I thought I was part of the anti war party. I thought I was part of the party that fought for the underdog, that championed working people. When and how did we just become the party of academia and affluence? Because that's what we are right now. How can we ever say that we're going to fight corporate power or give a voice back to those communities that have been left behind when above the delegates on the floor in levels and levels and rings of suites with donors and corporations that we're literally looking down on the people below from above? That's what Chris Cuomo said, and he's absolutely right. You know, I went to the DNC this year hoping that I would feel reconnected to the Democratic Party, that I would have more of a sense of understanding of Kamala and her candidacy and what she stood for. But instead, I ended up leaving and feeling the opposite, more disconnected and alone than ever. And I don't think I can support Kamala Harris for president. I don't even know if I can call myself a Democrat anymore. I don't know who I'm going to be supporting, but I know it's not her. And for once, I'm not afraid to say it.
So, as a final note, let's just say right here, right now, before all of you, never forget, you don't owe the Democrats your vote, their support, or anything of that nature. Break away from it.